Okay, so we discussed the wiring and the installation of the StructureScan 3D. I'm going to mount it inside the compartment here, and we have done that. As you can see, it's mounted on the sidewall. Now the next step is to bundle all the wires together neatly, and you want to make sure that you take a little extra time to do this. So when you're putting items in and out of the storage compartment, of course, you don't hang on the wires. And so I'm going along, cable tying the wires together, and they'll run back into the console. At this point in time, we're ready to continue assembling the NMEA network here at the console. If you remember, this is the NMEA cable that we began at the back of the boat, the transom. We ran forward. There, the terminator is on one end of the cable. We put a T in, which hooked up the Point-1 antenna, the back of the boat. Then this baseline cable came forward, we fished it through, it's now underneath the console. What we're going to hook up to the NMEA network at the console is, first, the power node. This comes with the NMEA starter kit we talked before. So, like the Point-1 antenna, we'll need a T to hook up the power node. We started our baseline cable. We have the female end, so it will connect to the T, and then the power node comes out the top of the T. All accessories come out the top. We hook the power node up. The power cord comes with an inline fuse. The fuse holder has a 3-amp fuse already built in the starter kit. And then we will attach this underneath the dash to positive and negative connections. The important thing to remember on the power node, this must be switchable power. So whenever you store the boat or you're not using the boat, the NMEA network must be turned off, or it will have a latent draw on the battery and actually run the battery down over a period of time. Plus, the accessories like GPS antennas will continue to run. And inside a building, if they cannot get a signal, it could actually cause them to enter hibernation mode. So just remember, when you're hooking the power up on the NMEA network, always want to hook it up to a switch that you turn off when you're finished with the boat, so the NMEA network is not powered all the time. Next, we also need, at the console location, to hook the NMEA network up to one of the HDS-12s. So once again, from our starter kit, we have a second T, and we'll attach that second T in line with the first one. Out of the top of the T, we will attach a 2-foot NMEA cable, and this we will run underneath the dash into the back of the locator at the console. So this finishes our 2 T's that we have here, power, locator at the console. Now we need to continue the NMEA network by running it forward to the bow of the boat, where we will hook up the other locator and also the SpotlightScan transducer, which is a NMEA device. So in order to do that, we must have an additional baseline cable. This is a cable that must be purchased separately because we used one baseline cable, which was provided by the starter kit. Now fortunately, in our case, we did have a cable, baseline cable, that is provided with a Point-1 antenna. So if you're installing a Point-1 antenna like we are, this is the cable that the Point-1 antenna was supplied with. This is actually the cable that was supplied inside the starter kit. So we have our 2 cables that we need. But if you're not installing a Point-1 antenna or another device in the back which comes with a baseline cable, you may have to purchase a separate one to run the NMEA network all the way to the front of the boat. We'll attach a second backbone or baseline cable to the bottom of the T. Remember, accessories Power nodes, locators, antennas, gauges always come off the top of the T. Your backbone cables always come off the bottom. We attach this cable, and now we will fish this cable through the boat up to the bow to complete the NMEA network at that location. Okay, now we're going to talk about connecting the power to the console locator. The same discussion we have on the power cable, obviously with the console locator, will apply to the locator at the bow. We're also going to discuss the power connections for the NMEA 2000 network, and since we've installed the StructureScan 3D, we also need to connect the power on that power cord. Let's begin with the power cord for the HDS Gen 12. There are a couple of wires coming out of the power cord. This top wire is NMEA 183, which is a NMEA network that we are not going to be using for this particular application. We're using NMEA 2000. NMEA 2000 is powered separately via the power node. We're going to cut this wire off and tape it up so it doesn't interfere at any point in the future. And then secondly, on this power cable is the actual power wire for 12 volt voltage and the accessory wake-up circuit, the yellow wire. So next, we will be hooking the red wire to the power and the black wire to the ground of the spade terminals that are located up underneath the dash that we took the voltmeter earlier and found with a 12 volt power source. The yellow wire is for an accessory wake-up circuit. We're going to wire the StructureScan directly to switchable power as well, so the yellow wire doesn't come into play in this particular application. However, the locators do produce a signal whenever they're turned on that would supply a voltage through this wire and actually activate the StructureScan box. The StructureScan box, we'll talk about its power cord in just a second. The next power cord I want to talk about is the one we spoke of earlier. That's the NMEA 2000 network. It will also be hooked up to power. Once again, it's important, the NMEA 2000 is not powered through the power cord. It's actually powered separately as a power node coming into the top of the NMEA 2000. The last power cord we have to hook up is the power cord for the StructureScan 3D. This power cord, we will hook the red terminal to the positive side, the black terminal to the negative side. The blue wire will not be used for the StructureScan 3D, and we'll cut it off. The yellow wire is what's called an accessory wake-up wire, and we want to make sure that this yellow wire is connected to switchable power. Just like the NMEA network, we always want to make sure the yellow goes to a connection. When you turn the power off, it turns off this wake-up circuit to the StructureScan box, and that will power it down. The StructureScan module box actually requires two 12 volt sources in order to function properly. One comes from the red, one other 12 volt source comes through the yellow wire. We will see on the locators later, the StructureScan page will say no source until we actually turn on the power switch, which will activate the module box through this yellow wire. The no source will disappear and our StructureScan data will begin to scroll across the screen. So that's the importance of the yellow wire, the red wire, and the black wire on the StructureScan power hookup. To continue with our power cord segment, one thing that we always want to do with all of the power cords, whether it's for a locator, whether it's the red wire on the StructureScan 3D that we talked about, of course the NMEA 2000 power cord, on the red wires, You always want to make sure and hook in the online fuse holder, which is provided in the package. They come with this online fuse holder. The fuse, of course, that is provided goes into that portion. The little cap goes over the top, and then that connects on all the power cords, the red wire. They will splice in and then ultimately get connected to whatever terminal that you have, as we talked about before. But just remember, on all of the red wires, make sure to put in an inline fuse holder. The next step in the installation process, we're actually going to install the first HDS Gen 312 into the console. We have all of our cables ran, the power cable, the sonar cable from the glassed in transducer, our Ethernet cable, and our NMEA cable. All of those will connect into the plugs along the back of the locator. And so to begin, we are fortunate in that Triton offers as an option a pre-cut out plate that fits in the space on the dash and also around the locator. We'll talk about the installation of that and also what to do in case you don't have the option of a pre-cut out mounting plate for an in-dash mount. As we said before, we're very fortunate to have a faceplate that's pre-cut out to fit the locator perfectly. But even if you don't, even if your dash panel has not been cut out, supplied with a locator is a very good template. The shaded area represents what needs to be cut away from your plate, the outline, in order to fit the locator perfectly. And then in each corner, it shows where to drill the mounting holes in order to align with the holes in the locator. The locator's dash mount, basically by positioning them like this, you see on the back there are mounting holes in each corner here that we will access from the front. The holes are located in each corner. To get to those holes, we begin removing this gray trim piece all the way around. So just begin in the corners and work easily, and the tabs will come out. Just go slow and be careful. When you get to this corner, you open the door, those tabs come out, and the faceplate lifts off. That exposes the mounting holes in each corner for in-dash mounting. So we'll take our screws, put the screws through the corners, and simply attach them on the back side and replace the faceplate. And we've finished with the surface mount. Now in our situation, we will take this assembly and the second set of mounting holes that will actually mount to the dash of the boat. Okay, we're finally ready to begin installing the first locator. So we have all of our plugs that we've ran to this location. So the first thing we're going to do, once again on all the sockets that we'll use, we'll put a little dielectric. Okay, a couple of the plugs we are not going to fill up with cords, so there are little caps supplied with each of the locators. So those plugins that we're not going to use, I will seal off one of the Ethernets and also the StructureScan plug over here. Then we'll begin by connecting the NMEA, followed by the Ethernet, power cable, and then finally our sonar plug. And after all the plugs are connected, position the locator and fasten the screws. So that will complete our in-dash mount of the locator.